Hi, it's Alice, she, they, and some big breaking news that it may not be for the Xbox, but it's definitely related to the Xbox franchise being Halo, and it's that Rooster Teeth is now shut down. News just came around 7 o'clock, and I was like busy playing Halo Infinite with her husky mates. And I was like trying to get to boost up my battle pass. And then the DM came from my friend and just told me that, oh, haven't you heard? Rooster Teeth is down. So when I checked around the Reddit and like, my God, like this has happened. Some of us may have seen it coming, but now with Rooster Teeth shut down, with a lot of layoffs, lots of people have been sad, upset, and even frustrated at the news. And since we've been talking a bit about Rooster Teeth for some time, we thought we'd just do a quick video to talk about it. So I'd like to introduce you to Lewis. So how's you?
Depressed, sad, gutted. Yeah, it's not good news. We're in March of 2024. We've already had like ridiculous amount of layoffs in all over through the game industry, Xbox, PlayStation, all this stuff, and now Rooster Teeth is gone of all things. One of the YouTube channels that inspired my YouTube channel, inspired me to get into YouTube. A channel I'm very like I loved growing up.
Yeah,
Achievement Hunter, Red versus Blue. The Rooster Teeth podcast was one of the first podcasts I ever listened to, and now what we do a weekly we do a podcast frequently, and it's sad. It's very sad.
it is. And
Yeah,
you're probably like citing one of them being Achievement Hunter, but they shut down, replaced with Dog Bark like last year.
yeah,
But now with Rooster Teeth shutting down, we're going to be expecting a lot of discussions and talks about what it's likely to be for the future for this whole thing to do with Rooster Teeth. So I'm going to bring into your main screen.
Ooh, the
And I
new.
put into reader mode so it can cut out all the clutter
Alright,
on
that way.
it. But this is shown in Variety.com, and it says that Rooster Teeth is biting the dust after more than 2 decades because they ran
21
for like
years.
21 years. That's just like almost as
Jesus.
long as Xbox, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, they were I mean, for people who don't know the history of Rooster Teeth, they started off with Red versus Blue, which was a machinima series
Exactly.
of Halo. So Halo was kind of what birthed their channel, and Halo, like a symbiotic relationship between them and Halo over the years, and the fact that they're gone is really sad.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, 21 years, Jesus,
So what happened
God,
is that Rooster Teeth used to be an independent company. They've been bought out by AT&T, which is more of a mobile company, but they also bought
yeah,
media properties too. And then Warner Brothers have bought Rooster Teeth, and they've been quite a partner to them. But
yeah,
but there's been so much going on, especially Warner Brothers changing their CEOs, and now Rooster Teeth has been Zaslav'd, David Zaslav'd. Yeah, Zaslav'd. I think that's what its terms now used because they cut down so many of the animation projects as well as many movies. And Rooster Teeth didn't just like get rid of their animation; they took down the whole company and they
yeah,
bought rights to the podcast network. So podcasts
yeah.
are not going anywhere for a while, but for everything else to do with, especially to do with animation, they they took like they got rid of it, and now this is
It's
likely
so
to be a
strange.
huge thing for all those people who've been following with their franchises, and especially those who've been in the Halo community for many years. So according to this, parent company Warner Brothers Discovery, after unsuccessful attempts to sell the unprofitable fandom gaming and comedy entertainment division, is shut down Rooster Teeth's operations. And it's been announced by the general manager, Jordan Levin. So yeah, Warner Brothers is actually trying to sell Rooster Teeth off, and now they can be able to do that. And what's happening is that, it's going to be mentioned down the article, but it just says here that they're now looking to sell the rights to Red versus Blue, RWBY, and Genlock. but the podcast work remains with Warner Brothers. So according to this craze, that
Mm.
it's with a heavy heart that I announced that Rooster Teeth is shutting down due to challenges facing digital media resulting from fundamental shifts in consumer behavior and monetization across platforms, advertising, and patronage. Our legacy is not just a
Right.
collection of content, but a history of pixels burned into our screens, minds, and hearts. So, yeah,
Um,
what's happening is that while they keep their podcast network, 150
it's
people have
weird.
been laid off, and now they're just going to sell rights to RWBY, Red vs. Blue, and Genlock. But it turns out on Casey Lee Williams, the composer of the RWBY songs, has said that people didn't have much notice about what's happened in Rooster Teeth, and 150 people have been laid off, and now they're just out without work and having to look somewhere else. So these people are like must be
Yeah.
like really angry, upset, and they've been really frustrated with people too because they keep
It's
seeing
weird.
people like suggesting about the costs and everything, but they've been very transparent, and they also like wanted people to subscribe to first and criticize them if they were going to pirate. So it's been a really, really rough few years before then.
It's a weird one. Rooster Teeth, I think it was so successful for so long, and it was like it was. I don't understand how it's gone so wrong for them. Honestly, I feel like it was the Ryan Hayward situation, then the Adam Kovic situation, and then a lot of other people just left. I don't know. It's weird. It felt like they were untouchable. They really did feel like they were they were like really too big to fail at the point they were
Well,
at.
I did watch a video and talk about the timeline. Apparently, Rooster Teeth went to the point that they thought they were too big to fail,
Yeah.
but I think there's just those kind of things. It's not that huge, but there's Ray leaving Rooster Teeth to do his own Twitch stream,
Yeah,
and he's finding
as
it hard.
Ray as well.
He's
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. And yeah,
I still
you
watch Ray now. He's great, but
yeah,
yeah,
and then there's a whole Micah controversy about her like dealing with racism and all this bigotry, and the
Mm.
human resources department not dealing with it, and it followed with more stories. And then you mentioned about the Ryan Hayward controversy as well as Adam Kovic, and these
Yeah,
controversy so at beginning like a huge peak of them, and it just
yeah,
like ruin the company's image. But there's other things like there's accounts of people who have been dealing with the toxic work environment for about a decade, especially the
yeah,
trans person Caden who have been dealing with unpaid experience and dealing with a lot of harassment and even
yeah.
dealing with lots of issues. And it's been followed with more issues to do with RWBY and even like workplace injuries. I mean,
Mm.
there's so much going on. And then like after that, uh, there have been like more cuts to shows like Theatre Mode, Always Open, and and for Ruby used to be going on every year, but they had tremendous delays. They
Yeah.
they couldn't be able to fund their own show, so they now have to like put it on Crunchyroll for season 9. As they said that it became so expensive and they couldn't get enough money that they couldn't be able to continue it without the Crunchyroll's help to do it with Volume 9. But it ended up
Mm.
putting the show to Crunchyroll, and it's one of the biggest sellers of like first subscriptions. And now, like, there's Camp Season 5, which is like their own version of South Park. They got Season 5 of 4 episodes, and there's Red vs. Blue, which they had a restoration of the final season, which comes out late last year, but it's been delayed until May. But with the Rooster Teeth shutdown, it just
Maybe
means
never coming
that
out.
it, yeah, there could be a possibility they may still release it, but with people laid off, it's just a bit up in the air. But also one of the things is just what got staff talking with the fandom and venting out their frustrations is the RTX, you know, the servers, especially one of them
Yeah.
you went to in Australia.
Oh, well, I went to PAX Australia. Like, there's a picture of me with Mike and Lindsay. If you want to bring it up, I met them in PAX Australia when I visited family. But yeah, they did also. I was going to mention that is that they were so popular. They had their own festival. They had their own like Comic-Con kind of thing. They had RTX, didn't they, every year?
Yes.
And then they had a small studio, and they got a big studio, and then they basically had like a giant lot with like like massive buildings and all sorts of stuff. Like they had a lot of like they had loads and loads of people working there. And they had offshoots of Rooster Teeth. You had Rooster Teeth, and then you had Achievement Hunter, then you had Funhouse, and you had other stuff that just like
Yes.
all. It's such a big network, and I'm like, it does feel like I don't know how they screwed it up so badly that it's become the shell of itself. I'm shocked,
Yeah, the
honestly.
Rooster Teeth have once like gone up to 400, but it's been they laid all the staff, including animators, which went down to about 150. And RTX, they said it's not that profitable, and they will be cancelling it this year, which is one of the early signs that they're not going to be able to fund themselves any longer. So, continuing on with
Right.
this article, is that in
But it said not.
2020, sorry,
So I was just going to say, so it says not that profitable,
yeah,
but it's still profitable. That's why I don't understand that. Because like capitalism is like infinite growth. Everything has to earn more money and more money and more money. If it's making you money and it's making your fan base like you more and it's bringing more fans in, then surely you should just keep doing it. I don't understand why.
well,
Oh,
unfortunately,
it only made us a couple of million. Like
unfortunately,
okay,
they haven't been making enough money for these events, and they don't find them profitable. And they have
okay,
went through some like really financial difficulties too. So, continue with this article is that
go ahead.
yeah, Rooster Teeth was bought by Fool's Green, and it's been in turn by Otter Media, and yep, joint venture of AT&T and Sherman Group, and become a part of Warner Brothers Warner Media before they merged into Warner Brothers Discovery. And they had their own website. They hosted their own video service, and they had their own subscription system called Rooster Teeth First, which they had over 200,000 people, um, which they came over to see the new episodes of Ruby and Genlock. But according to this, it's now fallen down to 60,000. So yeah, it's really a huge drop. But Warner
Yeah,
Brothers' Discovery will be communicating with them in the next few weeks about the services shut down. So interesting. So, but yeah, uh, I think what happened is that Rooster Teeth began with some parody videos, and they did Halo Machinima, which is of course the biggest franchise. But then they did Achievement Hunter, and then went on to do their own gaming entertainment, and it just kind of worked out. They also bought Scourge Attack, which is one of the earlier gaming franchises before they got shut down too. And I think they bought Machinima, but I don't know if there's other way around. But
right.
but then they ballooned and became overly ambitious. And what peaked for me is the summer of animation where they had RWBY, Cam Camp, and Red vs. Blue. But then there was some huge issues with the I think it's Gray Hammock or wherever this manager is. He
I
was
don't know.
managing the animation projects, and that's before he shipped on the funds and didn't become really honest about dealing with the budgets. And he was collecting so much money to fund Genlog, which is their most expensive project. But they went into so much bad management that it turned into a failure. Had to give it to another
Yeah.
studio to do season 2, and but then things went falling down so much, and they had huge money issues, which led to a huge reshuffle and having them sold to like Warner Brothers. So, and that's when it went into a massive decline. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just been like that for many years. So I just kind of see like the Silicon Knights situation that they went into lawsuit with Epic Games over Unreal Engine, and then they got countersued and lost money, and they became a
Yeah.
skeleton studio and not do a lot until they got shut down eventually.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Rooster Teeth was dealing with a slow death.
Slow, painful death. Yeesh. Yeah, so the podcast is still going, as you said. So does that mean that we still got the Is it still going to be like Barbara and Jeff and I don't know and Gavin? Like, is it still are they still around or is it just going to be new people? I don't like I was just thinking about Dog Bark. Like we were at the time we were saying, oh, this is the death of Achievement Hunter, but maybe it's just a sign that they knew this was coming and they jumped before they were pushed. They built their own, like they got out before it was well abandoning a sinking ship maybe because it does feel like the Dog Bark thing felt like it came out of nowhere, but maybe they knew already that this is like why this is headed. Um, it's sad. It is really sad because obviously, Gavin's still gonna be doing slow mo guys, so that will still keep him going and stuff. But it's like a lot of people are losing their jobs, and there's some very talented people. So yeah, it's very sad.
Well, I
Um,
think there's a full statement here and gives some extra bits of information. But yeah, it's just like interesting you mentioned about those kind of other shows because they have their own podcasts, but it looks as if
yeah,
it could be pigeonholed into them. But it depends on like how they're going to be paid, or depends if there's going to be enough profits with their podcast network that if they keep
yeah.
if Warner Brothers bought their podcast, yeah, maybe these people would still be doing those. But then it's hard to say without actually knowing about it. So I think we might find answers in this statement written by Jordan. So,
Yeah,
dear
keep going.
Rooster Teeth, since our founders created and uploaded their first video on the then called World Wide Web in 2003, Rooster Teeth has been the source of creativity, laughter, and lasting innovation of widely volatile media industries. We've read the headlines about the industry like layoffs and closures, and you heard me give my perspective and updates on the rapidly changing state of media and entertainment during each of our monthly all-hands meetings. Since inheriting ownership and control of Rooster Teeth and AT&T following the extradition of Time Warner Brothers Discovery continued its investment in the company content and community. Now, however, it's with a heavy heart that I announce that Rooster Teeth is shutting down due to challenges facing digital media. Yeah, pretty much. Please note that the
Yeah,
Roost team is not currently impacted by this action. The Roost podcast network will continue operating and fulfilling its obligations while Warner Brothers Discovery evaluates outside interest in acquiring this growing assets. And I think it's talking about the animation franchises like RWBY.
right.
But yeah, I think it's pointing out to the Roost podcast network. And it looks as if it is a separate entity. So, yeah, so maybe the shows you mentioned could live on, but I don't know what the real outcome is. Oh,
All right.
and
I mean,
sorry.
I got about like £5.50. How much you got? We could try and buy something. Do you want to buy Ruby or do you want to buy Red versus Blue? Like, we gotta. We got.
We're
I
gonna
was think.
we're gonna need a lot more than that, but
I'm joking, but I
but
was thinking that you said they got 60,000 people subscribed to Rooster Teeth first. I am surprised that it hasn't become like a Kickstarter or something to try and buy these properties back, like with the amount of fans that they have following them.
I doubt
Uh,
it. This will be
we'll
down
see
to the
though.
studios,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
something will come up, but we don't see crowdfunding to be likely. But I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
know.
there's going to be a lot of questions, and we just found out there's news. But to continue this, in the
Yeah, go
coming
ahead.
in the coming days and weeks, we will have many questions to answer and an opportunity to work together to implement the best way to wind things down for us and our community. We're working through what comes next in real time and will be as open, direct, and accessible as possible. And then it just goes through those different aspects that to the creative legacy for negation. But yeah, I think it talks
Mhm.
about the history of the creativity they do,
Yeah.
and yep, and it's talk about like all those histories and oh, and it says here to every story reaches its final pages. Rooster Teeth's closure isn't merely the end; it reflects the broader business dynamics, monetization shifts, platform algorithms. Sounds like YouTube. Advertising challenges and the ebb and
Yeah.
flow of purchases, all those converging factors have led to many closures in the industry. While we learn about updates on programming day by day, we will share our plans for shows, franchises, partnerships, and merch soon, and so share those updates with teams internally in the community of roosterteeth.com. Interesting. And to our final season, though not intentional, it's only appropriate that our last station of Red vs. Blue coincides with us navigating this closure together. Our legacy is not just a collection of content, but a history of pixels burned into our screens, minds, and hearts. Rooster Teeth has made an indelible mark on the media industry, and we should be proud of the countless ways we pioneered a business connecting creators and contents with a dedicated community. And there you go. This is the last logo they used, and have a good look, because you're probably not going to see a lot of it again.
I mean, I hated the new logo. The new logo sucked ass, but it does make me think. As like I was just while we're reading this, it's also reminded me of Second Wind. You know the stuff what happened on with Second Wind with the what's it called, the Escapist. Essentially, the Escapist said that the video side of the website was not profitable enough.
Yeah,
So
I remember the Escapist shutting down.
they all left and built their own company called Second Wind, and that's super successful. I feel like a lot of the people we know from Achievement Hunter will probably bounce back and build up their own companies from
like
this, and they'll
Dog Bark?
like Dog Bark, exactly like Dog Bark. It makes me wonder what's going to happen with stuff like Funhouse, and because that is still a part of the Rooster Teeth network, isn't it? And Achievement Hunter, even though most of them are left.
About that, I mean, there's been many things that come up and come go. Like Gamer Tag follows on Screw Attack, but it came off.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
Boost Podcast Network is the one that is going on, but it's unknown like what's going to be any changes with some of the podcasts there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going to happen with the Rooster Teeth podcast. I don't know. But if we're talking about animation properties, I don't know what's going to happen at the moment of Nowhere, whether that's going to be given back to its creator, Jordan, but he recently did a pilot for, I think it was the port and something. You can check it out on YouTube, but he did I think it was a pilot for the new show, and it involves like someone traveling down to the port, so that's cool. But it is confirmed that Warner Brothers are selling RWBY, Genlock, and even Red vs. Blue to different studios. So I think
Microsoft should try and get out there and buy Red vs. Blue.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, that's right. We all know this is true.
Microsoft, do it. It makes sense to buy Red vs. Blue. You could have like a parody series for Halo, like an official one. Then not just like a fan one. You know, I don't know. We don't work for Microsoft or anything, so we have no sway. But if anyone in Microsoft's listening, buy it. Buy Red vs. Blue.
I just think it makes sense for Microsoft and either Microsoft or 343 Industries, because they also look after it too. They're current developers of Halo. But it would be a no-brainer for them to buy Red vs. Blue franchise to them, and this will make a whole circle. They could reboot it and have it set in the Halo universe, like with the Deadpool movie, or even introduce stuff into the Halo Infinite, because Microsoft has given the blessing to Red vs. Blue, especially Bungie, and with Red vs. Blue rights up for sale, I think it would make total sense for Microsoft and for 343 to buy rights to those franchises.
Yeah, I think it would be. Yeah, there would be a good purchase. I don't know who would buy RWBY. As you said, Crunchyroll maybe.
Crunchyroll it's a likely candidate, but it doesn't seem as if they would be funding for Falling 10, because otherwise they would be bringing them back. Because according to Kerry, like they got RWBY with Crunchyroll, especially with Ice Cream, which is an anime, but they've also they would have like given them enough money to fund Greenlight Falling 10, but that's not the case. So I'm not sure if they can buy them back. So it's quite so it's quite likely that.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Go on. Sorry, I keep interrupting you, but just keep going.
But I think it just makes me feel that it's either going to be up for the Japanese studios to create a anime reboot of the show, or have a different animation studios to reboot it. But as for like
Yeah.
continuing on with Volume 10, that's a bit up in the air. But fans seems to want other studios to continue the show and have a conclusion. But I think it's quite
Yeah.
likely it could go into the reboot. I'm not sure. But as for
Mm.
Genlock, this one was a bit unusual and it had a concluding season with it. But it depends
Yeah.
because Michael B. Jordan, who's one of the stars in it, could be like rallying up support to like get this whole show continue. But I
All
don't
right.
know. So we might.
I was gonna say, Genlock is probably the least popular of the three, and I didn't really expect that having much of a future. But if you say Michael B. Jordan's involved with it, I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
David
interesting.
Tennant and Macy Williams have lent voices to it, but it is a
Oh
very
wow.
expensive project. And season
Mm.
2 was widely unpopular, so I don't know if it's ever going to go anywhere or not. So, but
Who
what,
knows?
but as it stands, that RWBY, Genlock, and Red vs. Blue, Warner Brothers is willing to sell them off, and it looks like they're not going to be around with them any longer. I mean, they did
I
like
find.
Ruby with Justice League movies. It's a bit ironic that now Warner Brothers is going to sell the rights to them. So I don't know if these movies are going to last any bit longer. So it's
You
unbelievable.
know, have them facing Marvel next and the Deadpool. That'd be funny. Like, what? No, it's weird. I know how much of a big fan you are of Ruby because I was like a running joke in the early episodes of the podcast as you'd bring up Ruby all
Well,
the time.
not so much of a
Or at
fan
least you
anymore.
were, but you were big at the time. And I was always a big fan of like Achievement Hunter and Red versus Blue. So this is a really sad day, I think, in the history of YouTube media, like social media. I was just also going to say as well, I thought it was interesting because like I was listening to a podcast on Last Stand Media. Have you ever heard of them?
Probably not.
They were like there was Colin Moriarty went from IGN went to Kind of Funny and then started his own podcast network called Last Stand Media. Basically, he was saying he doesn't understand why any podcast studio, anyone would buy a big studio to do podcasts. And it's like, yeah, like basically, it's a massive financial like sinkhole just to have a building and have loads of people go in there to do podcasts and stuff when you can do it all like we do it like this on Discord. It's such a like it doesn't understand why you would invest all that money into building and facilities and stuff like that. And I kind of agree with him. I mean, that's what I also get with this Rooster Teeth scenarios. They had so many staff and such big facilities. They moved building like 3 or 4 times. Uh, is something that digital media you don't need physical facilities a lot of the time. I mean, maybe you do for animation and stuff, but a lot of people could just work from home a lot of the time, especially when it's stuff like podcasts.
Well, bear in
But maybe
mind,
that's off topic a little bit.
bear in mind that many personalities like Ray, Jeremy Dooley, and Matt Bragg. I mean,
Yeah,
these are kind of people who've like left Rooster Teeth to do their Twitch streams, including
yeah,
J.K. Like J. Caden, Caden Jensen, like did their
yeah,
own Twitch stuff now, and they seem to be doing well with their careers. Uh,
yeah,
but but yeah, you said that those kind of things that they used to run a successful line of like let's play channels, and it has like
yeah.
Achievement Hunter. Like I used to watch Let's Play Minecraft like every Saturday, and it just
Yeah, me
seems
too.
like the age is over, and it just seems as if
Yeah,
like YouTube has screwed them over. Like you used to watch RWBY, Red vs Blue, and even Cam Camp on YouTube for free,
yeah,
but they took it off and then they just put back on for the memberships only, and even asked for like items where you pay hundreds of pounds to have your name appeared in the end credits of like Cam Cam. And it's
well,
just
if
when that they are really begging people to like buy stuff, even like merchandise, the first
yeah.
subscriptions. They even like said in the memo for like this year that they're planning to have more first subs, but now it's just fallen down from 200,000 down to 60,000.
corporate greed all over, and it's just like I was gonna say, like, how are you expected to get new people to sign up when they don't know what they're signing up for? I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind signing up for this, but I have no idea what this show is. Like, I'm gonna sign up for a show I've never heard of, I've never been able to watch because I've heard it's good. It's like how could you like you need to have the free version of it for people to like get hooked and get interested. I think just get
Yeah.
rid of all of this. It's I know it's probably a bad analogy, but they always say the drug dealers, the first hit is for free, get you addicted.
That's what
you
happened
know,
with Red vs. Blue and Camp Camp with the first episodes along with RWBY. But with
yeah,
Rooster Teeth shutting down and no longer the case for them to keep getting money, it's a little bit up in the air whether they would like end up releasing the
yeah,
episodes for free or get rid of it completely.
that's a good point.
So if they,
Mm,
I think it would be a gesture of bit of a goodwill to like release those episodes for free because they're not going to get any money to save the company anymore. Or they could just get rid of it, just like how Disney Plus got rid of some of their projects, like Willow and even Jeff Goldblum's documentary series. So it's either one of those
yeah,
things. But it's
but
so
like,
ironic because Red vs. Blue is made using Halo, and this used to be
yeah.
like you just watch it on the internet for free, and now they just turn it into a paid service.
That's the same as everything, isn't it? We always go on about how digital preservation. We usually talk about it in video games, but it's funny to think that digital media is disappearing as well. Films and TV shows and like little series that have been created by these people, and we might lose them forever now because Rooster Teeth is dead. Bummer. That is a bummer because as you said, I love to watch the older. Like I'll go back and watch the older Minecraft series all the time, and I don't think I'm gonna be able. I might not be able to do that in the future, which is a bit of a bummer, to be honest. Uh, yeah. R.I.P. Rooster Teeth. Um, yeah. Is there anything else we need to really say? Because I think we've gone for a bit here.
Yeah, I think we just wrap this up, but yeah, Rooster Teeth is shut down, and we're gonna end up with more answers. But as it stands, companies shut down. Podcasters seem to be safe to the moment because of their separate network. But
Yeah.
now the Warner Brothers is going to sell off RWBY, Genlock, and Red vs. Blue, which could mean big changes. But we could have a podcast episode where we'll probably be talking about the future of Red vs. Blue, what's going to happen for them. So,
Maybe. Yeah.
so the future, I think, is just marks the beginning of a massive change. But the Rooster Teeth we know is now Western and Chicken.
Roasted chicken. Yeah. Like I was gonna just say, as I was saying earlier. There's been so many layoffs already at the beginning of this year. It does feel like we're in some kind of like transitional period in the gaming industry in general. Like everything's closing down and people are starting up new, like smaller indie startups and stuff. And it's sad, but I'm hoping that the people who were really talented in Rooster Teeth will bounce back and they'll, as you said, Ray and Dog Bark and all that. They've already kind of got on their feet already. So I'm hoping that that'll happen with the rest of them as well. So fingers crossed. And we're rooting for you guys. We we're a small independent YouTube channel ourselves, and we do it for fun. But we hope that you bounce back from this because it sucks.
And I also
But yeah,
hope
that's
that
it.
Rooster Teeth employees would find something. But it's not just with them being laid off today. It's also with their animators who have been working so hard in RWBY, who then left doing the whole project thing. And there's been a lot of layoffs, and I even know one or two people through YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And there's also people who've been like lost their jobs and everything. But I just do hope they would find their footing and gave a better prospect. So best of luck with that. And also to the fandom, I know you were like upset and angry about how things are happening, but think the good things must come to the end. So yeah, it's sad.
Very sad. Yeah, I'm gonna miss Rooster Teeth a lot, especially Achievement Hunter, and yeah, what a bummer. Thanks for the memories, guys. End of an era, and Mark Nut. I should say something like
Mark, nah. I
Mark
used to have
Nut.
this as a ringtone in classes for my second masters, but it was so loud that it just made people jump. So
Yeah. Oh, wait. I don't know what it is. Ah, I had DVDs of like Red versus Blue and stuff, were like right by there. Like I should have shown them, but I don't know where they've gone. Doesn't matter. Oh, hang on, I got him. I got him. Well, yeah, I've got them. See,
And
I
Laser
got these.
Team.
A Laser
Nice.
Team, Season 11, a Rooster Teeth and Laser Team. So at least I got these. If the channel goes down forever, I've got these forever. So that's that.
It just reminds me of Miles Luna. That like he's glad that he's got like a Blu-ray of Cam Cam, which is a show that
Yeah,
he also worked on. But he's a bit, well, sus about like the
bad.
whole thing that about the getting Blu-rays of like Red vs Blue because it's now been taken off YouTube and now it's like available
Yeah,
for members only. But yeah,
yeah. So get it when you get the chance, if you can. Yeah, it's a bummer. Thanks for the memories, guys. We will miss you. Uh,
and until
yeah, I'm
then,
sad.
keep us posted. And in the next podcast episode, could be coming soon or not. But we'll definitely like bring the hint of this or not, depending on how we feel. But some other Xbox news may pop up. So if you subscribe to us and like our video, then then you'll be able to know if there's anything new. So be sure to click on the bell if you want any intermediate news about it. So yeah,
Subscribe and leave a like and comment and share and all that jazz.
yeah.
Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. And until next time, Magna!
Bye bye.